How about that fucking briefcase, man?
Good idea. Give us your briefcase, man.
I'm not giving you my goddamn briefcase.
Motherfucker, give us your motherfucking briefcase.
TSPRavshiva. I've got a great guest, really cool guy, a good friend of mine from God knows how long now. And that's, if you recognize this guy from the movie, because it's him, it's actually him. This is Agustin Rodriguez. This movie was called Falling Down. I think it was an Academy Award winner or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was nominated for a few.
Or nominated, right. It was nominated for some big awards, Michael Douglas, and this, I forgot this other actor here. I've seen him in a lot of movies as well back in the day. And
Robert Duvall.
Yeah, what is it?
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall. So he's another guy that's in this movie. Actually, this movie was one of my favorite movies of all time because of the whole idea in society of, when a person just breaks down and what happens. And it was like, I think a lot of people, even though they don't go to that extreme, can relate with that aspect of society. So that's a big thing. But Augustine, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure, Rob. Thank you so much, man, for having me on, man. We've known each other a long time. We're old buddies from back in the day, in the dinosaur days in Los Angeles and all that. So, yeah, I know we've had some crazy times. So, I'll tell you a little bit about myself for your audience. First of all, thank you so much, and wish the best for everyone that's watching here. So my name is Agustin Rodriguez. I'm originally from New York City, born and raised. I grew up in a single mom household, my sister and I, and went to school visual arts. I got my degree in illustration. So my focus from the school visual arts, that was my focus to being a freelance artist, right? I took my first acting class there, and that just got me started. I caught the bug, and then soon after graduating from there, I continued studying at HB Studio. Those of you who know about New York City, and studied with some amazing people. Started to work really quickly in the industry, theater, indie film, student film, and then I got cast in a feature film with Richard Gere, Kim Basinger, Uma Thurman. Final Analysis. That took me to Los Angeles. That's how I ended up there. So been doing that. Been acting. Started acting over 35 years ago. It's a long time. When I was like 5.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've been in the health and wellness industry in the fitness field over same amount of time. Teaching on and off, teaching nutrition, exercise, self-defense, martial arts, and have my own health and wellness business. And I enjoy. I've had a lot of experiences doing a lot of colorful experiences. Living as an actor, you got to have all kinds of jobs, all kinds of things to survive. But it's been a great ride. Yeah, and I am newly married now, living in Pennsylvania. I miss New York, but I'm close, so I'm often there. And yeah, recently back after a hiatus, over a 10-year hiatus, back in acting. Some exciting new projects happening. So I'm glad to be here.
So who is that? You said you were in a movie in Final Analysis with who again?
Oh, I thought you would say, who is that you married again? So Final Analysis with Richard Gere, Kim Basinger, and Uma Thurman.
So you must be talking about this, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Oh shit! Who's that? Yo, dude.
Man, you're good. You're good, Rob. You're like. How fast did you find
that? Guys, that was real life. That's what he used to do before he got into acting. That's why he didn't even have to act for that part, from what I found out.
You got to make a living. What are you going to say?
They're like, he actually robbed a producer, and they're like, yo, can you do that on screen? Oh, he said, yeah, sure. How much you pay?
Hey, that's how I got in. No. That was a lot of fun. Can I say, that to do that stunt,
Yeah,
gosh, we had to practice and rehearse out it was in an empty field. You
yeah,
know, LA is kind of like a desert. You know, you remember we drove through it, right?
yeah.
And so here we were rehearsing. Day of, it
Mhm.
was tricky. It was just like I kept missing the back. We're on actual trolleys in San Francisco going across each other
Wow,
like this.
wow, wow.
So you're going 9 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour. So
You
it's
had to
18
time it.
miles an hour, right? So
Yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh, I felt really bad because it's like really thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, no, I know that now
yeah.
as your people are hired, there's 2, 3 cameras, there's like all this happening. But I finally, we got it. As you can see, I got it.
Dude,
So
that was amazing. Watching it over years later now and looking at it, realizing that but like now we have so much CGI and so much artificial intelligence that they can do it. And now you were actually on that trolley and you were actually doing that. Was that actual Kim Basinger there?
yeah, yeah,
That was her too. Got to give her
yeah,
some
yeah.
credit, bro. She was on there with you.
Yeah, we had a couple different scenes together in the
Yo, she
film.
was really big at that time too.
Oh yeah,
She
gosh.
was
I mean, it,
huge. Kim Basinger was huge at that time.
yeah, yeah, really, just very talented actress. I mean, she's been in so many things. Worked with Richard Gere, also with Mickey
Right,
Rourke.
right.
Right, 9.5 weeks. Try not to think about that movie too much.
I love that. Dude, let me ask
But
you. Let me ask you a question. What was it like working with star power like her? Of course, she's huge, and then Richard Gere, who's like a real like legend in the business as well. What was it like working with these guys?
I was I was a little bit nervous. Like I have to admit, like it was just the first day getting on the lot there. We're about to do a read through at a
Yeah,
table. I'm about to meet Richard Gere, Kim Basinger, Uma Thurman. There were other actors. I had scenes with them, all three of them.
yeah.
Uh, I didn't have scenes, but I saw Eric Roberts was there.
Oh, Eric
I'm
Roberts.
like,
Man. Yeah,
I thought this is what went through my mind as I went there. I thought, how did I get here from Washington Heights, from uptown?
yeah.
And I remember being very grateful to that, just thanking God for that, and I felt a little starstruck because I'm just like, okay, I'm just trying to let me focus on my lines or what I got to say when we're doing this read through, and be professional. Kim was the first person that I met as I walked up. She's sitting there, she's looking through the script, and I walk up to her. I said, "Hi," and I say a line I say something in reference to the script. I
Yeah.
don't want to give it away, and and she starts laughing. She starts laughing. She's like, ah, she's touching my arm. She's like, oh, you're so funny. And I'm like disappeared behind her, behind the chair. I was nervous. I was just like,
Yeah.
basically her like touching my hand. Um, so
Wow,
yeah.
dude, dude. Every guy was thinking about her at that time. Trust me. Every guy was thinking about, especially at night. If you know, what I mean. Everybody was thinking about her. You got to actually be in the same room and be in a movie with her. So,
No, she was super
not to
nice. Like
take away the
super,
whole grand essence of it, but the everyday guy is going to think this way. So I'm just saying.
yeah, it was cool. It was a great experience. I was like really, everybody was pretty cool. It
Yeah.
was a really great experience, man.
What was Richard Gere like? Because I loved his movies.
I'll tell you, like he was, you know, super one of the most nicest, humble people
Yeah,
I've ever met. Like really, I mean, I remember one time during, in between you're having lunch, and usually the bigger stars will go eat as they should
yeah,
sit down and eat with the director, producer, because they're talking through stuff and logistics. And then there was one time we're near the Teamsters were sitting there, and Richard and I just sit for lunch, and we were talking for an hour with him as we're having lunch. Like, so just very down to earth, talking about New York theater or living
yeah.
in New York.
That's cool. Yeah,
So it was really cool. Like, just again, like, because you never forget those experiences. Like, oh, we're just having lunch in between, shooting. But for me, it was like it's a huge deal. I'm like, oh
dude.
my gosh, it doesn't
You,
happen every
I
day.
mean, that was done before I was in LA, or was it? Yeah, it was done before because we right.
Before you and I met, yeah, it was at
So
that.
you were
Yep,
so then you were really young then.
I was a wee lad. I was like 4 years.
Now, how
Yeah,
old
I was
that
when I
film?
when I first went to LA, 24 years old. Yeah, when we shot. Yep,
Yeah, you're like you're up and coming in your life, and you got, dude, how many people get to have those experiences? So it's like it's such a great experience to be able to look. You can not even just remember. Go back on the TV or on whatever on the computer and just pop it up on YouTube and be like, "Yeah, that was me." So,
Yeah, that I'm very grateful, and I knew it was a great experience and just fortunate thing to go through.
yeah,
Just very blessed.
yeah, of course, man. Speaking about being blessed, you bring me to another topic. So this is a question I ask all the people that I talk to. Is that what do you think about spirituality? And if you do think about it, has it affected you in your life? Is there anything about that you'd like to share with us
Okay,
or share
that's
with
a
the
good
people?
question. I'm so glad you asked people that because it's
Yeah,
important. Um, I'll start with this quote. They say that we are spiritual beings going through a physical experience. That's who we are first, right? At our
yeah,
essence. Um,
the mother
yeah,
earth.
do I think about spirituality a lot? I really, as you know, I've been so over 30 years now that I've been a Christian, and I was a full time minister for a while
Right.
back in
Remember
late
that?
'90s, right? For almost 2 years, and just very active in that, and not just active in my church or going to church, but really trying to live a spiritual life and live that out in every way that I can.
Yeah.
So, do I think spirituality? Every single day. I have to set my mind, prepare myself to really, really connect with who I am meant to be. I didn't plan on saying it that way, but that's how it came
Yeah.
out. But yeah. So
Yeah. So that's interesting. It's almost like it was like a catalyst to who you are today. In other words, you know,
and yeah,
like it
I'll say
helped
that.
you along. It was the process to help you get to who you are today. In other words,
Yes, yes, I'll
yeah,
say that because I'll say because I was thinking about that earlier, like you know, and I think about it from time to time, like what would have happened? Who would I be had I not, you know, gone in that route, a spiritual route,
yeah,
a spiritual walk, because before then I was self-destructive. We knew each other, we had a lot of fun, we had a lot of things in my life. I was self-destructive in a lot of ways.
I think
And
all of us.
we all fall short. It's not just falling short, but it's like as I really see it soberly, I'm
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, I would feel and look and be a very different human being. Yeah, if I yeah, who knows? Sometimes we don't know the way we went. It's like would I even be here? you
yeah,
know. So I'm grateful. So yes, it has a lot to do. Where we are, our experiences can make us, our decisions. And they contribute. We all have our days. Our good days or bad days, but that contributes to who we are. The things we do. I was telling someone today, like we can't choose our you can't choose your future, but we choose our habits, and our habits form and shape our future.
yeah.
You know, yeah.
I love what you're saying because I can look at myself as a human being like you,
Mm.
and say to myself, admit to myself that yes, of course, the darkness inside of us is what helps to create who we are because we have to find the light anyway. It's like that yin and yang aspect of it. You know what I mean? You have to have the dual nature, the duality to know one from the other. So it makes perfect sense what you're saying in my mind. If I were to look at it like analytically and look back and be like, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. Who would we? I don't think any. Like maybe Christ, maybe Buddha, maybe Krishna, maybe these people that had a higher self awareness and were different in every aspect of who they are, didn't have a dark side. Maybe. But the rest of us humans, yeah, we all fall short. Like you said in the very beginning, we fall short. And I think it's part of that process. Part of that process, like you said, to help create who we are today. If we do the work, right, and acknowledge that darkness.
Yeah, what you said is, I like what you said. If we do the work, it takes work, and not so much
Yeah,
works, but meaning like decisions, and what we choose to focus on, who we choose to be, right? Our habits, or who we are. It's kind of like what we do. I can't say, oh yeah, I do all these things, but I'm not really that. Yeah, I go and smack people, I kill people, whatever. But I'm not really a murderer. Like, no, that what we do is not that it has to be that extreme, but same thing. Somebody who's, let's say, who's faithful or unfaithful to their spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah, I do these things, but that's not really who I am. It's like, no, that really will. There's a quote from the Bible that says, even a child is known by his actions.
Yeah.
Whether his actions are true and right. So.
Hmm. It's interesting because I remember you before you took that path, and I remember I remember us going to parties in L.A. where there were other actors. Like I remember stuff like that. We went to places where there were much. I've never been to stuff like that. You took me to Paramount Lot where I got into an argument with Shannon Doherty from Charmed.
I know you told me that, and I'm like, oh wait, I kind of remember. I remember being on the lot and we're going to an audition with you. I didn't know it was her. I didn't remember
Yeah,
all
she
that. But
fly swatted me out of there, man. She's like, "What are you doing? Get
what?
out of here!" Like that. I was like,
Dude,
"Excuse me." I can't believe you guys got fly swatted by Shannon Doherty from Charmed. I don't know if she's putting like a spell on me or something. She was like,
she don't know you from Brooklyn. She
yeah,
didn't know.
she's lucky, I just thought you came out. You're like, "What happened?" I was like, "She just like booted me out." He's like, "Oh, sorry about that." But I was actually grateful. I had never been on an actual movie set as big as Paramount. I'd never been seen it. So you took me to something that I probably wouldn't have gotten a chance to actually see at that age. So I was able to actually see it, and it was funny. When I think back about that, and I'll say this is a personal character note of yours, is
Mm.
that you didn't think twice or hesitate to take me with you, and it's interesting. The reason I'm saying that is a lot of actors that I've met over the years, maybe including myself, I don't know, but I think that when you're an actor, that you kind of become stingy and you don't do those things. But I think you were so secure in who you are as a person, it didn't seem like a factor in anything. You were like, "Hey, you want to come with me to Paramount?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Two of us got in your piece of crap car, and we started doing the
You
Flintstones,
remember?
kicking our
You
thing.
remember?
And then we got up there. No, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. And like I said, that's a good on a character call. That was humble, very humble of you. But you went from that lifestyle also. I don't know how you made it through the partying lifestyle of that and all the things that are surrounded by that. The Diddy parties. No, I'm joking.
Somebody told you about that? That wasn't me.
No,
That was my thing. No. I well, I'll tell you. Let me. Can I speak to that a little bit?
yeah.
As far as what I experienced there, yeah, I didn't really. Let me see. I like to hang out. I like to,
Yeah.
go to parties, meet people, just network. Like it's cool, and I learned, I guess, being a New Yorker, that people are you're pretty real. I don't know. People can be fake on both coasts. It's not
Yeah.
that, but we're pretty like honest and straight up and whatever how we are. So, um, I don't know. At that time, I don't know, I felt pretty okay being in those. And I didn't in those surroundings, and I didn't really partake into. When I was a teen, I stopped
Mhm.
smoking weed and doing things. I did some bad. I made some bad decisions, before, and I didn't. I pretty much cleared all that out of my life.
Mhm.
Certain things. There was still self-destructive behavior, but as far as that stuff, I didn't
Yeah.
do. That might have factored into a whole different person sitting here today. Like, if somebody continues, you see what happens. You're like, whoa, what happened to this person? And yeah, they kept, whatever, drinking and drugging for 20
Yeah.
plus years,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have a different experience.
Interesting actually, because like I said, you were very young when you got into the industry. That's considered young, and you were even younger than that before you got to the Hollywood part of it. So I think did you get work when you were going to the fashion school
Oh,
institute?
oh, my high school. So I went to high school fashion industries. No, I was shy. I didn't want to act. My first time acting, taking
Yeah.
an acting class was in college.
Oh, in
So
college. Okay.
I didn't like speaking in front of people in high school. I didn't, I was just into drawing, into arts, and doing that. And yeah, I made some bad decisions, like I said, during that time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it was later in college. I took my first acting class, and I just got the bug and kept taking art, uh, some acting. a writing class where we had to do some improv and acting. I learned that I pretty much liked improv, and I kind of liked auditioning. So all that helped me. It kind of got my feet wet.
What was the year that you got your first big gig? Do you remember?
That was
There's a
that was the early 90s. It was 90 when I moved to LA. So it was like 89, 90 when that final analysis that took me to Los Angeles. That's what took
89, 90. So that means
yeah. So
you were like 19, 20 years old or something, or I don't know, like 21, 22 or something like that.
no, hold up.
Like
No,
you're
no, no. I just graduated college. No, so I was like 23, 24.
22. I know you're like somewhere in your early 20s, right? The reason
Yeah.
I say that is because as a Latino actor, just correct me if I'm wrong here, I remember the 90s, the early 90s. I think there were
Mhm.
very few. That was like J-Lo, I think, in the early 90s, like the first big female come out to like super pop star from going from like In Living Color and making it big. You had you already had like some established actors that were kind of there that didn't really like hit the scene too hard, but they were in parts here and there. You had James Edward something,
Edward James Olmos. Yeah.
Edward James almost, and maybe Lou Diamond. I don't know if he's Spanish. Lou Diamond Phillips, was he Spanish?
He played a Latino in La
See, I
Bamba.
wasn't sure. Yeah, I'm
But
not,
I don't think I think he's part Mexican. I'm not sure.
yeah,
Um, well, I gotta look that up. Yeah.
yeah. We should find that out because it'd be interesting because
Or native, something like that. I mean,
native.
he
Yeah.
looks.
Then
Yeah.
then you had in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and a few other movies, Maria Conchito Alonso was the female lead, and with him in some movies. And you really didn't have anybody. And you were one of the younger faces that were coming up in the industry at the time. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember seeing too many other young faces. You know, like
No, I mean,
I remember the older faces, like the older versions, like not they were old, but you know they were a little bit older. I'd say playing in their 30s or something at that time. And you came up like as an early 20-year-old college like age kid. You know, so I don't
yeah.
remember seeing a lot of stuff with a lot of Hispanic or Latino people at that age. When especially when in the early 90s, I can't remember them at least. You know,
Well, I mean, yeah, I'd have to look back and think how many, as far as the ratio. You know, I'll say this. At that time, people said, "Oh, this is the age of the Latino. This is,
yeah,
this is the time. This is when we come into, because of J Lo and different folks. Like, yeah, this is what." But they've said that for a few decades now. It's like we
oh,
see a lot more. And actually, recently, let me mention this. It was such a proud moment for me to see um, Zoe Saldana received the Oscar just recently, right? As she's Dominican. I'm half Dominican, so um,
who was that?
Zoe Saldana, she got the
Oh,
Oscar.
Saldana. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah,
So I was so proud. I mentioned that because, wow, you see, and there've been other. Jose Ferrer is one of the first, 1950, the first Latino to get an Oscar, to win an Oscar.
hmm.
After that, there's been a few varied actors. Like I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but to see a young Dominican woman, um, I'm just glad. But
Yeah,
I
100%.
see that, yeah, going back to the '90s, they said, "Oh, this is the age of the Latino." And it's kind of been that way for a while. And I should mention this. I think you'll appreciate it. Gosh, I played a lot of different people. You saw me snatching a bag there. So right, drug dealer, thief, like
I
killer. So a
I got
lot,
something
right?
for you.
A lot of typecasting. Well, you got something here.
Yeah,
What are you gonna
I
pull
got
out
something.
now?
Who's this
Oh,
here?
yes.
Okay, Augustine is down. I don't know if can you see the cursor, Augustine? Is the cursor working?
I don't see the cursor, but I see the
Uh,
image of the poster. Gen X. I
Okay,
see the Generation X
okay. So
poster.
you
Yeah.
see the Gen X. So the guy in the middle. I think you're not the white and red, but the red sitting to the right of him.
Yes. Yes. That's
Yeah.
me. Curly hair. My
Let me see if I
arms
can get a
stretching.
close up.
Oh, look at you! You got all kinds of technology. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a further
is that
feature,
you
but
right there?
that
Yeah.
is me. Yes. Yeah.
Wait, and wait, this is actually really important because this, if I'm not mistaken, you said was like the first Latino superhero or something.
from what I understand, and
Yeah.
let me connect it to the thought I was just saying. How
Yeah.
I was playing, and I'm so glad. What great timing, Robbie, that you have right now putting that up, because here I was typecast a lot, played a lot of like intense or negative roles, and at the time I didn't mind. It was work is
Yeah.
work, and I'm grateful. But it's like, wow, okay, because you're Latin, because I'm the color that I am, I'm darker. I'm not. I don't. Just I didn't want to just play a killer and a thief and all this running from the cops, and I've done that a lot.
Look, I've done that in
Here,
my life a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
you know, from my experience now. So they're here with Generation X
Yeah.
to play a young Latino superhero, very positive role and
Yeah.
positive role model. For kids, there was one young guy, Paul, for Power of X-Men, has a podcast on there, and he said he was a kid when he saw it, and it meant a lot to him, being a young Cuban kid watching a young Latino guy, on
Yeah.
the screen playing a superhero. I never thought about that aspect
Yeah.
of it. That it means something to people to see people that look like them or can speak Spanish, and
Yeah.
yeah. So it's such a positive thing that I got to do. I'm very grateful that, and Moon Over Miami. The I got. Thank you. So I got a chance to be to be a series regular in a TV series for ABC, Moon Over Miami. With
Oh,
Bill Campbell,
that was
Ali
awesome.
Walker.
Yeah. Yeah. That was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, a very positive role where I go. The character was street smart, but also had his ear to the street, but he was also like well dressed, well spoken, and could kind of hang out in all kinds of different situations, and areas. So
Oh
that
yeah.
that was
Just out of curiosity? That Moon Over Miami was a redone from like earlier movies, right? There was a movie called Moon Over Miami. I think it was Clark Gable. No, Getty. I forgot the names of the people now, but it was like from the golden era, if I'm not mistaken.
might be because the whole thing, the whole thing about the genre, it was a romantic comedy,
Right.
and it was right around the time that they wanted to have something like or create something,
Let me show you.
kind of.
Do you see
Oh,
that?
look at that! I had no idea. Betty
Yeah.
Grable. Wow.
Right. Betty
Wow.
Grable. Right.
Donna
Donna
Michi.
Miche, Robert Cummings. So this is from
Wow.
back in the day, bro. This is like how far back that idea goes. You know?
I had no idea. Maybe that's where the title came from. I got to check it out now to see if there's
Yeah.
moonlighting. Remember moonlighting? So
Yeah.
that was the big popular show that forever, and they wanted to create something like that, similar, where it's like it's moon, but not moonlighting, but moon over it's in Miami. It's kind of different. The music's different. It's the '90s. You know.
So you're talking
Um,
about this show right here, right? With these guys. Who's the
yes,
ugly
yeah.
guy with the jeans jacket in the middle? Is that you?
Dude with that long hair.
Some ugly guy. Is that you? Wait, so
that
that guy that looks like Clint Eastwood, he was in a lot of movies before, right?
the Clint Eastwood. Who looks like Clint Eastwood?
The tall guy that's there. He
He
looks.
looks like his hair looks like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, doesn't he?
Bill Campbell. Yeah.
Bill
Good.
Campbell.
Good. Like
What was he?
again.
What do I know him from?
So the Rocketeer.
Rocketeer.
Uh, Enough with Jennifer Lopez. He was
Yeah, yeah.
the big menacing stalker there,
And
and
I know the
so
girl that he's holding on to there. She's been in a lot of movies too. I can't remember.
yeah, Ali
So,
Walker. Ali Walker. God,
Ali
she's
Walker. Right. Right.
Universal Soldier. Um. Oh gosh, I forgot the other TV
And who's the
series after
Latino cutie here next to you?
that. So Marlo Marin, yeah, she's mixed. She's like African American, I think
Is she really?
European. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Super sweet, super nice girl. And
wow.
again,
Wow.
I had the best time here working with Bill Campbell, with Ali. It was so comfortable and so easy to be there, because again, we hung out like offset, like we just spent time together, and
Dude, didn't
just
that last a long time, that season? Like a couple seasons or something like that, if I'm not mistaken?
one season. We did one season, yeah.
Was it one
Yeah.
season? I thought if I remember
Well, we
correctly,
shot
you're
about
like on
there was,
you were
we
like
were
filming for like 12 months, bro, or more.
we were picked up for 13 episodes, and we shot, I believe, 11, 10 or 11 were shot, and
Yeah,
then so it was one season. Yep, in Miami.
it was right. It's like one season. I remember that. Is that you guys here again?
Yes, yes. That's a prosthetic hair piece. No, no, my hair was actually that long. My hair was
I
to the
remember
middle
when
of my
your hair was
back.
that long back in the day.
Yeah, and
Dude,
again, just it was just a blast to be able to be in Miami. And can I say this?
yeah,
Here's the thing: I was not. My father moved away out of New York, like
yeah,
to others, when I was 11.
yeah,
So I was not around him. He was living in Miami at the time. So
yeah,
here I am. Not only do I get a chance to be on a series in Miami shooting there, but I
yeah,
get a chance to be around him,
yeah.
and that was one of the most, yeah. Aside from doing the work, making a little money, getting my father back. I always say that that's very important to me. That was an important experience. Part of that time there. That's what really makes it stand out to me personally.
Oh, dude, that's just totally awesome. Because I remember we talked about your pops a little bit here and there back in the day. So I know
Yeah.
that that's like a big thing for you as well. So that's like a blessing in getting the chance to do that and do that at the same time.
Whole thing was a blessing. I
Yeah.
really did. I knew it. I'm like, man, I got to try to be some kind of a better person or something. Like, I don't know what I'm
And
going to
I
do,
got
but
another nice pick for you.
nice, nice.
Check that out.
Yeah, it was fun. We got to do some photo shoots, and
Look at you.
uh,
Look at you. You're all bricked out and shit. You got muscles coming out of every side here.
I was lifting a couple heavy things for a little bit. I
Dude.
try to continue. All my life, I try to just stay active and stay fit. It's important, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I got a
This,
chance. Yeah,
this is amazing.
it was a yeah, great job. We did some photo shoots. Had a lot of fun. It was cool. Worked with a lot of different people, different actors. Um, from that you'd recognize. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. He played Cliff, the postman on Cheers. Uh,
Oh, really?
Mustache. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but we just did different episodes. We had different guest stars on there, and that was really cool.
I,
Um,
the movie that you did, I could be wrong here, that
hmm.
I thought you had the best hair in is guess which one?
The best, the best hair.
Is
Uh,
this the movie I'm thinking of?
oh.
Wait, is that the right
Yeah, yeah.
movie?
That's superhero hair. That's a
Yeah,
prosthetic piece. I let my hair grow. No skin. Angelo Espinosa, the character has like longer hair, and
yeah,
he pretty much he looks like this.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait, they actually have. Oh yeah, I think I see that. That was in. That's one of the that's your character
That's my twin.
from the Generation X character. Dude, that's awesome. They actually have a character.
Yeah, they had an actual
Yeah.
book because it's a comic book. So I didn't. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a
Uh,
comic. So all this stuff existed before we even did the
So
show.
let me, let me show you how this guy looks when he was when he was smack in the middle of Hollywood. Check this out.
Oh.
And he never hung out with us. As soon as no, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Wait until I tell him about the rice and bean story.
Oh my god. All right.
Till they find out about rice.
Oh, no.
This guy starved us, man. This is great, though. I mean, you've got like this whole
I'm a
life.
lad from Manhattan. We eat rice and beans. I'm a Caribbean creature. I need
Man,
my
I
rice and
feel you.
beans.
I'm totally with you on this. I have more questions for you, if you don't
Sure,
mind. Um,
sure, sure.
let me see. What do you think about what's recently been happening? Like, I'm a big, I've been a comedian back in the day, right? So I've been a big
Yeah.
fan of comedy and this and that. What do you think about when you see like people doing comedy, like getting hit on stage, like Dave Chappelle when the guy attacked him on stage? Now this doesn't even only just stand for comedians; it stands for entertainers in general, actors, singers, because that's
Chris
where that
Rock.
to potentially branch out. What do you see in that? What do you think about that as an actor and a performer who does live stage and film?
Meaning someone getting attacked in the middle
Yeah,
of an act?
yeah. Like, I mean, we never really saw that. Like, when back in the day, you go back a couple decades, that wasn't a thing. But after seeing Will Smith punch or slap, I don't know if he punched or slapped Chris Rock. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, that was really. I thought it was on stage. A lot of people did, right?
Yeah,
It was really upsetting to hear that, and it obviously it affected. It affects us all, you know. What
yeah.
do I think of it? Wow, well,
Turn the other cheek. I'm thinking.
that's not no. It's really uncalled for. It should never get to. Put it this way: it's like when there's like a dating couple,
Yeah,
married couple. There's never any excuse to be physical. Like to me, especially growing up the way I did, like to physically harm or hurt
yeah,
anyone. There are a lot of other choices, especially a woman. Now,
yeah.
this is mostly all with men, is being attacked, but that's crazy. That's why we have laws like assault. Like,
Right, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, but this
that's
is
not.
this. Yeah, it's just a question I had to ask. Because I know we both grew up or kind of like fighting and practicing martial arts and stuff. And I thought it would be an interesting question to ask you because we used to spar from all night till the 6 in the morning. You know.
We did my special. Yeah, I learned a lot from you, bro. I'm telling you. Like, I'm like, "Yeah, oh, teach me some of this Tai Chi. Tai Chi seems really peaceful, really quiet. And then, here's Rob throwing me around my room. I'm already a black belt at the time. Barely moving. You're barely moving. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Teach me my stuff. It's like,
But the funny thing about that is that when I had developed my style of fighting, it was because I didn't want to punch people and hurt them. As I did it once in my life, and that guy almost died. I'm not even joking. I was a young kid, and he turned pale white and stuff. And I said to myself, God, I never want to do that again. You know, I just didn't want to do that again. I was like, I don't want to do that, harm someone. So I had to figure out. It really came from that moment. I started figuring out what they call the clinch now and handwork in the clinch. That's basically what I don't even invent it, but that's what I was really good at, getting on the inside and grabbing. Even if you were a good striker,
yeah,
if I get on the inside, I could put you on the
yeah,
ground. Once I put you on the ground, I didn't have to hit you. I could submit you and choke you
right.
out. Say,
Exactly.
I could talk to you at that point. And that's what I was trying to do, to get to talk to people. Like, hey, let's have a conversation. Want to have some coffee? No,
So you being what is it like being the inventor of MMA? No, but that's pretty much what you talk about. Really, I mean, you Clint, as far as Brazilian jiu-jitsu
yeah,
and how that works, but yeah, that's the best. The two ways to think about it, right? If
yeah,
someone's going to attack you or strike you, this is for the comedians in our audience. Uh,
yeah.
like best block, don't be there, right? Avoid it, right? Step back, step away if you can. But if someone is trying to do that, right, whoever you are, it's like getting in close. Then it's harder to. They're not going to be trying to
Yeah,
do
once you
this.
get in close, you stop their momentum. They
Yeah.
can't do anything to get you. They can't
I
put any.
so
Yeah,
Can I say this about you, Rob? I so appreciate what you just shared. I appreciate you listen to your conscience. Like you didn't want to harm another human being, even
no,
though you were harmed and you were you were called names. You went through a lot of things, bullying, a lot of craziness. But for you to still have a conscience to like, man, I don't want to harm another person, especially when you had a big scare like that.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Very
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's I find like a lot of the times in life, the experiences, like you said before, our darkness is a part of what shapes us, and I think that society doesn't give enough leniency in this area for people to actually change. I think everybody's caught in this whole uh, matrix of revenge, and almost
Yeah.
every movie, in Hollywood, what it's like. Every movie, how do we solve this problem? Pull out the gun. Wait, but we're dealing with physics. Not anymore. It's just like
Right, right.
it's
Yeah,
like
there's no that's actually, I mean, it's entertaining, it's escapism, right? Being in the
yeah,
movies, it's like I love movies. I always loved imagining all the artistic parts of like from
yeah,
visually telling a picture, as a filmmaker to as an actor, musician, all that. Um, so we enjoy it. But it's kind of reflecting. It's like art imitating life, where it's like we see it in life and then we see it there. And then other times life is imitating art, where people will imitate something they've seen, and they think, oh, wow, that's the way our culture can be that way. It can be very vengeful, violent. And that's not the way to be. An eye for an eye leaves everyone blind, right? Someone once said.
Gandhi, man. It's one of my peeps, bro.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Gangster. Where's this arm? No, but you know what you said about me, right? About not wanting to harm people. When you told me that you were gonna, it's so funny how this works, because I remember when you told me, I just don't want to do any roles that are violent, this and that. I thought you were the dumbest idiot in the world. I was like, this guy's such a wimp, man. I was like, I just want to smack you. I was like, I'll take that role. And then years later, I'm thinking about it. It's basically the same move that I did, but you did it for better reasons, obviously, more for harder reasons, because you were giving up a salary. You had to give up a salary to say, okay, I don't want to take roles that represent bad shit.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Can I speak about that just
No,
for a minute?
you can't. No, I'm sure.
Thank you, Robert. No. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't know you were going to mention that part, but not so much with violent roles or
Yeah.
but 30 years ago when I became a Christian, I still did a lot of acting work. In fact, here's the funny part. I've had to say no to a lot of things because of my
Right.
personal convictions, my personal beliefs. There's
Right.
certain things I choose not to do. Profanity, sexual explicit content, things like that. So I personally choose to do that. Same way, think about this. There are women that don't want to take off their clothes. They don't want to take it. And we respect that. And we go, okay, great. There are Tom Hanks, there are A-list actors that won't kiss women that are not their wives.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them. So I'm so glad my wife. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I am one of them.
See a fist come out from the side.
Meaning, yeah, no, I'm not going to get myself into trouble here. But no, meaning that they're because of my personal. What was that?
Maybe it's stupid. Sorry.
So no, I like the sound effects. It's cool. So meaning this, there were a lot of times I said no to things. There were times where representation chose not to work with me. They say, "Wow, because of your belief." They didn't say it, but they didn't go with it well. I had one, Michael Schlesinger. I'll never forget. He was so understanding. My manager,
Yeah.
my agent at the time, and he let me work with. He goes, listen, I'll send you out with whatever you say, whether you want to do it or not. And we worked that way for years. No
That's
problem.
cool. That's really
There
cool.
were other situations where people didn't feel that way. They didn't feel the same.
Yeah.
And that's their choice, and it's totally fine. I'm grateful for all of their help. My former, managers that I've worked with. I do. I have nothing but love for those guys. I'm still in contact with my people here.
I
But
think
there were
that's
people that
important.
chose not to work with me. There
Yeah.
was times that I said no to things because of my personal convictions. And actors feel. Can I say this? Actors feel differently about it. Even people who call themselves Christian actors feel like, oh, well, I'm just pretending to be someone, and and that's their choice. Think about it this way, though. If you had a 3-year-old son, 4-year-old son, you said, hey, you're going to go in here and do this and say F this, F that, F that. We're just pretending. Some people feel fine with that. But I think a lot of people's conscience would be like, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. I don't want my son. He's pretending, but I wouldn't want to. I don't want him doing that. What we do, it does rub off on us.
Okay,
It is.
I'm going to go in a really. You don't have to answer this at all.
I'll answer it.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, since you brought that up, if you have kids and they watch, they see certain things. So would you take a role playing a transgender guy or a gay guy?
Oh, you're gonna go
Controversial. Controversial.
Someone else asked me that actually. Another person in my I guess depending on the content. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we have prizes for you. Depending on the context, So I can say that, and it would have to be again. If it doesn't, this is a good example. I've done quite a few with Law and Order, with New York Undercover, where there was some crime done, where someone was killed, something. The whole piece didn't hurt my conscience. It didn't condone violence. It didn't do that, and it wasn't. People know, yeah, he's not really killing someone. This is a movie. If I'm using profanity, that's the actor using profanity. They didn't have a stuntman come in and lip sync like that person has to do that. If there's a sexually explicit scene, unless they do CGI, they're like, oh, wait a minute, like, unless they shoot it a certain way, they're like, oh wow, they're really doing XYZ. So, so yeah, yeah. Does that answer your question?
No, but that's good. No, the reason is because a lot of people have like such a whole stigmatization. Also, the fact that you said I wouldn't do anything I want my kids to, don't want them to see. So I thought that you're okay kind of with them seeing you in a role like that. Is what I'm saying.
Again, it all depends on the context. I really believe I'm really firm and don't mess around with my convictions. I really don't. I don't play around. Compromise personally. Do my very best not to.
Yeah.
The same way. Put it this way. The same way. Someone cheating on their spouse. They're like, oh yeah, I'll just do it. Depending. We're pretending. No.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do certain things.
Yeah.
So if it comes to a certain type of role, as long as it's not condoning something in a negative way, the context. You can be very creative and as a Christian, and I've done film, I've been a filmmaker too, and done some work there. So you can tell a really gritty story. And we had fight scenes, we had all kinds of someone, killing someone. And so there's a lot you can do creatively.
Yeah.
And still, that we know that it is what it is,
So they have a movie that you might be great for. I'll send you the link to it. There's a new casting thing that's going on. It's Brokeback Mountain Part 2. Have you heard of it? No, I'm just kidding.
I know you. I know. I'm listening to you. I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. Yeah.
It's called Broken. No, I'm joking.
Where's the sound effect?
Oh, yeah, we need the sound effect. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna.
I'm not kissing a dude though. Remember, no one other than my.
It's good that people probably have questions like that about actors. I'm sure of it. Like I'd want to know. Like I always wonder if when Will Smith played 6 Degrees of Separation, he played the gay character in there, and his son Jaden turned out to be gay. Do you think he looks back and says, "Hey, wait a second, damn, I must have caused that because he saw me doing it"? But it's not. But then in reality, they're saying that it's a genetic thing and this and that. I don't know what the real deal is. But some people say that because he did that, that's the reason his son came out, because he saw him doing it.
I don't know. I don't know too much about those details. I didn't. In fact, I never. That's one good movie I've never seen. I got to check it out.
It's actually a great movie. I actually met the guy in New York, not knowing it was him. I thought he was a singer to Fine Young Cannibals, and I interviewed him.
You met the guy who? Oh, you mean the actor?
The real guy in New York City. Didn't know who he was, and was sitting there interviewing him, and then realized who he was because of his actions. I was like, this guy's weird, and then I found out who he was.
You're like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Wait a second.
No, I got to check it out. I got to check it out. Yeah, I don't know too much. I couldn't tell you too much about that. And again, people make their choices. I will say this: a lot of things, influence us.
Yeah.
Family, culture, right, and things we allow, and that sometimes we don't know what's influencing. We grow up a certain way. We think, oh, that's the way things are, but no, it's very different. If you're a female living in Asia in 1940. There's a certain culture there.
Right.
If you're, a black male living in the South during the 50s, there's a thing there. There's a whole different culture, a whole different experience. Yeah. And we're all made up of so many things. I couldn't really do that situation.
No, I agree. I just threw that out there just to throw it out because it kind of coincided with that. So these are great questions, though. It gets people to think a little bit about it. Because so much of that stuff in the media now that people are wanting to kill each other over it. They're fighting and arguing. I see tons of videos constantly coming up on the topic. So I'm trying to get ratings, actually. No, I'm just kidding.
No, exactly. And here's the thing. Can I say this? You know that we see all kinds of from because of what's going on in politics, in our social, just in our social economic, just right now at this time, there are a
yeah,
lot of topics, and I think we can still, just like we are, you can have a spirited discussion and not be like, calling each other names, dogmatic. You can do that too. People choose to do that, but then they're
yeah,
kind of just they're talking at people. You're not trying to understand each other. You can have a
yeah,
spirited discussion and still have your opinion,
yeah.
but not respect and or go at it some other kind of way. But we don't see that in the world of politics. You see craziness happening in politics and show business, and you know, you have a sound effect coming.
No, no. I was thinking. I have another. If you don't mind, another question, if that's cool.
Go for it.
I have a couple questions actually. 'Cause I think it'd be interesting. I wanted to always know what you think of this because it's affecting everybody's life. Okay, with the rise of artificial intelligence, right? We all know what that is. Do you think we're heading towards a utopia or a dystopia, and why? So you think things are going to get great, or you think they're going to get completely destroyed? You know what I mean? Like, are we going to go to
Right,
this new
right, right.
dimension of like, everything's amazing, or is it going to be like this
Yeah.
horrible dystopian like future? You know?
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that too, because I was going to ask you, what do you define? Because people see it as
Yeah.
far as utopia or dystopia, from like, oh wow, this is
Right.
awesome, it's going to
Right.
make the world amazing,
Yeah.
or like, "Whoa, this is the end, the beginning of the end, the Terminator, like
Exactly.
this is
Exactly. Like they
the
see,
machine take over.
the AI is going to take over and destroy the entire planet, and then we're going to have to start a war. And
I think,
yeah.
gosh,
Or like
it's
the
only
Matrix.
my opinion. It's only my opinion on my limited, knowledge about this, because there's so much. It's moving so rapidly.
Pulls out a switch.
Technology.
Whatever happens, man.
You're like, yeah. In fact, this is Robbie interviewing you. It's actually an AI program. No, I think this. I had a really interesting conversation with a friend of mine in the industry, in the show business industry, entertainment industry,
Yeah.
and the person's point of view was just very. They were very concerned, very worried. People are gonna lose jobs. It will change, and it will affect people in many different ways. Um, I think two things about it, that it's limited with what we can do. It's kind of like when the car was invented. There were a lot of people that bought like 100,000 horses. They were like, oh my gosh, I'm out of luck here, because it's like now people got cars. They don't need a horse, right? So, and our technology changes so rapidly. Like, it's like trying to stand. I believe, my opinion, standing in front of a tidal wave. Oh, okay, no, I got to do that. We have to stop that and change it. Like, there's no way one individual is gonna say, oh wow, we're gonna stop the advent of, you know, uh, you know, cell phones or smartphones. When that happened, there was a
Yeah.
change. It was so. So I think this:
Society change, right?
either you're gonna stand in front of the tidal wave or get a surfboard and be like, wow, let's how can you utilize this? How can you
Yeah.
roll with it? How can you work with it? And because
Yeah.
there will be a change, it will change the way people are employed or not employed. The same way they've developed uh, industrial age, farm machinery. You didn't need to hire 50 some odd people. You have one machine to do that in the field, or process wheat
Yeah.
or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
with the advent, right, when things got developed, you
Mhm.
had to go with it. I'm sure there were a lot of people that said, wait a minute, our jobs are being taken away. No, you get a chance to either stand in front of the tidal wave or get a surfboard. This is just my opinion.
But
Maybe other people feel differently.
yeah, no, it's
So
interesting. I like that.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm using the tools and I'm utilizing them in my business, and like I'm learning how to do that and how to actually not be a victim of the
Yeah.
technology. In other words, not let it be, oh wow, things are happening to me. No, we get a chance to choose
Mhm.
how we look at it, and what we do. We can position ourselves where, like, oh, I'm not, my job is not at risk, or my livelihood, me being able to eat, is
Mhm.
not at risk. So we get to choose to pivot and do that. During COVID, people did that, didn't they?
Right.
They were like, whoa, I have job security. I'm okay. I'm all right. And like, we saw what happened. It was tragic. It was just so sad. Everyone's at home, locked, unless you're a unless you're what's it called? You're a emergency, a EMT, a nurse,
Yeah.
uh, a teacher, a
Speaking of
essential.
Yeah, just to throw this.
essential workers. Yeah. Go ahead.
Speaking of that, we just said EMT or essential worker. We're going to be doing a roundtable podcast, guys. Me, Augustine, the other actor I had on here who you saw was Eduardo Miranda. It's hard to say his name, but he's going to be on there. And then we're going to have Eddie Castrodad, who you all going to, if you're in your 40s, 50s, or even older, maybe 40s, 50s, 60s somewhere, you're going to know this guy as a childhood Hollywood movie star from back in the day. You know, kind of like Augustine when he was younger. So you guys all have that Hollywood thing going. So it'd be interesting to see our viewpoints on that. And then the EMS guy, he's a good friend of mine from back in Brooklyn, and he's going to be on as chief of FDNY EMS, and he, really is a great person. And he did a rap video, which I'll put out when he comes on in the next interview. We're going to show that video that I think got 1.5 million views on it. He did really well with that video, and it was all about his work. It was interesting. But I just wanted to interject that. And go ahead. Sorry about that, Augustine.
No, thanks. That's great. I can't wait to meet him. I'm so thankful.
We're all going to be on that round table discussing some really cool issues, guys.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
I'm going to interrupt Augustine continuously until... No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
That's... So anyway, yeah. No, that's it. That was just my thought with what was my thought? I don't remember.
Check, baby, check.
Los años no vienen solos. I mean, years don't come by themselves. It's like come with a lot of pain and suffering and memory. No, what was I saying before I so rudely interrupted? No, EMT. It's like, the chip during COVID.
Essential workers.
So, yeah, so during COVID, we all had to pivot. We all had to adjust, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was something not planned. Well, not planned by us. I mean, just put it that way. Not planned. Not planned. So right. So we had to.
People either. We're talking about the mysterious conspiracy.
And people did this. There were a lot of people that, like, when they were laid off their work or they had to take off and not be able to go to work, they realized they're like, whoa, I got to do something. Wait, what am I doing with my life? There was a lot of time for introspection, reflection, and be like, wait a minute, do I really want to do this? And the people quit their jobs and did what they really wanted to do. There were a lot of people who did that. There were other people who. There were also people, unfortunately, maybe took their lives or went to drugs and drinking because it was it was a legitimately crazy, tragic time. In my family, we had 10 deaths during the first 2 years. Yes. Damn. So it was not all from COVID. There were other things but it just happened during that time.
Yeah. Were they all here or was it in other countries?
South America, different, families.
That affected the entire world, yeah.
Right. It's like, so I say all that to say that we all had to, everyone was affected similarly and differently, right? You have your own experience because not everyone had the experience I had. Not everyone had your experience. So everyone's experience is very legit. But we had to adjust, pivot, and somehow it changed us, Yeah,
that's true, man. Yeah, that was definitely a big one. I just thought of something interesting that you said too, is that, which I always find funny, but when you said that the people that I always find it really interesting. The people that are always talking the most shit usually have a really stupid reason for it. Like the people that are like, they're gonna take our jobs. They're probably unemployed. You know what I mean? It's like I always find that to be kind of like they're always contradictory.
Can I get controversial here? So, yeah, people say like, "Oh my God, these people coming from overseas, they're coming to take our jobs." So the job is like washing, picking agriculture or like back-breaking work in the hot sun. I don't think those are the ones they want to pay. So,
I would have had that dishwashing job, man, if it wasn't for you.
Dude, in my house, I am the dishwasher. So.
You servant in your own house.
So yeah, I got my picketing sign. I'm like, yo, I'm going on strike. So no, it's something. Yeah, it's something to think about.
I could say I'm self-employed. That's my version.
I yeah. Oh, my wife cooks. I cook, clean, and I eat.
Who wears the apron in the family? Damn it!
Oh, very proudly wear the. No, yeah, but no, that's it. It's like we taking jobs. Yeah, it's like we. Yeah, so listen to Tim Wise. Those of you who don't know, check out Tim Wise, as in Wise Potato Chips, and he speaks on really, intelligently about that. As far as like when
About
people
doing the shit.
claim, oh, people over here, are going to take our jobs or take.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I always find that funny when I hear stuff like that too. That's why it cracks me up. Because there's a lot of hypocrites out there that say one thing and they have nothing to do with it. It's just something to say. At the moment they want to jump on the bandwagon with everybody else.
At times, where again, everyone's experience, it is legitimate. Somebody may say things out of ignorance, you know, racism or
Yeah,
just fear or just copying, saying what someone else is saying, what everyone else
yeah.
culture is saying. So there are different reasons. We're all, can I say this too?
No,
I'm asking permission, Mr. Robbie.
that's right. You can.
We are all nuanced individuals. We have different shades and colors, and like we're not just one thing. It's not like, oh wow, you're Latino. That means you're probably, oh, you're a Christian, so you're probably really conservative and Democrat and left wing and like,
Yeah.
no, I'm actually not. So
Huh.
we're not just one thing, and that's what really can, you know, that's one thing that really we get manipulated. We get by just falling into the rhetoric and being allowed. Don't allow anyone to divide us. We don't have to. I think a lot of us are waking up,
Mhm.
especially with what's going on right now, like socially, politically. We're like, wait a minute. People are speaking out and seeing like we have a lot more in common. Yeah, we have certain different opinions, but like, let's not be dogmatic and not understand the other person. Like there are people. Again, you can have a very spirited and intelligent conversation and disagreement or discussion,
Yeah.
but not like an argument and just all out just division. We don't have to do that. Wait, I'm gonna step off my soapbox.
So I'm gonna ask you some, if you don't mind, if you have time, a couple more questions. Is that okay?
Go for it. Let's go for it.
All right, cool. Because I have some interesting stuff here. So here's the first question. This is a really interesting question to me. Okay, have you ever had a spiritual experience, and if you did, how did it change your life?
Have I ever? Yeah. Well, of course. I
Yeah.
think
No, I'm joking. Wrong. No, I'm joking.
I'm trying to make something up. No, when I said at the very beginning when you asked me about
Yeah,
spirituality, yeah, that would. Well, here's the thing. If just my quote, right? Or a quote I
yeah,
said, someone have said that we are spiritual beings. Maybe not everyone believes that,
yeah.
and that's fine. But like, let's say that's true, then that we are all having spiritual experiences from the time we're born. Actually, before we're born, if you think about it, what's happening, right? And like,
Good.
it's just a big picture. There's a
Sure.
lot that we don't see.
Let me just point out what he just said. He said even before you're born. So if you listen to that, interesting. Remember that he just said even before you're born. We're gonna have another question for you after that.
Oh, okay. Trouble here.
Get in trouble
so,
now.
so yeah, I've had spiritual experiences. I believe when I was more aware. I think even before I became aware in my 20s, like the
Yeah,
time after, a few months after Moon Over Miami, when that
yeah,
finished, actually, that's the time that I had a spiritual awakening of sorts, right? And it made me, looking back, it even made me aware of like, wait, there were spiritual thoughts that I had even as a child. So there
yeah.
were different things that I thought, yeah, that there were, and how it's your good question, how did it change me? Um, for me personally, it just shapes who I continue to be. Meaning, like we're always evolving, meaning changing into hopefully a better person, but it's an influence. So things that happened before, things that I choose to do today, will affect me tomorrow and
Yeah.
next year and 2 years from now. So it constantly changes me. I have noticed, and other people around me have noticed things and have told me things that maybe I haven't even seen. They've said, "Wow, you were kind of like this. You've grown a lot in this area, that area." In some ways, they
The reason I'm laughing, we used to live together in LA, right? And Julio, you remember Julio? It was like the three of us in his apartment, right? Or I was like in both y'all's apartment, but like when you came in and brought me in, and then when you left, and me and Julio were left there by ourselves, and you wanted to do a fast one day. This is before I'm like almost 25 years now without meat and fish and stuff. Yeah, this is all actually grass fed like cows. No, I'm joking. But but I remember you were like Augustine. You're like, yeah, I just want to stay in shape. I'm an actor. This also is healthy. Blah blah. Then Julio looks at you and he goes, "Yeah, good." When you get hit by a bus, they're like, "Wow, he had really nice abs." When he said that, I was dying. I was like, "It's so funny."
I work on live fast, die young, leave a great looking corpse behind. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's like you could do all you want. We're so much in control.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that because that was one of
I
the
never forgot that.
that was one of the spiritual experiences I had. Looking at my ass. No, not looking at fasting. When my first time fasting, it
Yeah.
was for a role. Actually, I was
I
trying to.
remember that you made it. He fasted, and me and Julio had to fast with him.
You didn't fast with
Yeah, me and him were unemployed. We had no money, and he's like, well, "I don't have any
Oh
money."
my
So
God.
so all he had was first. It was at that time I was eating meat, but all he gave us was rice and beans. That was it. Every day.
That's a reference to
I,
rice and beans at the beginning of
I started
that.
speaking Spanish. I don't even know how. No, I'm just kidding.
Mira, ¿por qué me da esto para comer? ¿Qué te pasa?
La comida.
La comida.
No, go ahead. Read. He said, "I'm sorry."
Oh my gosh, we had to fast too. That's funny. So I don't remember that part. Yeah, it's funny. But no, that seriously though, that was for a week. There were different reflections or things, I guess inside. I did not expect to happen. I thought, oh, let me just
Yeah,
look
I
a
remember
little.
you said that it did change you in some way. I remember
Right,
that.
let me look a little smaller, a little like Mason. I had to play like a drug addict, so I'm like I said, you know, um, running from the cops. So that was the reason for the fast. It was a week, and I just did liquids, and but there were other things that reflections or
You're leaving out a most important part here, Augustine. Tell the truth.
what was the most important?
You remember how you broke the fast?
You remember that, and I don't. I
I'm telling
very
everyone how you broke the fast.
I didn't do a very spiritual thing at the end of the like I'm starving. Okay, okay. Can we now mention this is let's go to the next question.
I gotta tell him this is
Right
funny.
here.
He went and bought a pie of pizza and ended up eating like I don't know, the entire pizza or something, and ended up puking all over the place. He was like sick for a few days after like scarfing down after not eating anything.
Your Honor, I do not recall such actions. I
And me and Julio were dying laughing. And Julio's like, "That's what he gets: rice and
that sounds
beans."
crazy. I was very young. I didn't know how to break a fast, and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you didn't know how to break the fast.
you
That's what
can
it
break
was.
a fast. Yeah, with 3 or 4 slices, yeah, just scarfing them down. Just
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Gotta grab it.
That's all it actually was, bro. You there?
Oh, I think
Yeah, yeah,
yes, I'm here. Can you hear me,
yeah, yeah. I can hear. I think it froze up.
okay,
It froze up there.
bro?
Oh, let
I
me see.
think I went to sleep.
Huh? It looks like you're sleeping. All right, so wait, you're coming back in. I see
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's coming back in.
are we? Here we go. You see, I'm holding up my hand.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
see
here
it.
we
I see
go.
it. It's just a connection.
Yeah.
It's aliens, bro.
What's what's up with this technology? Oh, here we're caught up. Okay, here we go.
Well, you can see it. Is it looking normal on your end? It's coming up like
Yeah, it's fine. It's a little bit. It's there's a
it,
little latency, but we're
yeah,
good.
it looks like there's some lag. It looks like the Chinese movies when they speak.
Hey, you're kung fu. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's exactly what it looks like right now. Like, you
Are
killed my
you
teacher.
wrong?
Yeah, Bruce Lee. That was what was it? Enter the Dragon? No, that was the Fist of Fury.
The Fury.
Return of the
Yeah.
Dragon. Return of the Dragon. That was
Yes. 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 That's
Return of
right.
the Dragon. Yeah. That was hilarious.
That's right. You can put all this part in. You can put it in where you
Yeah,
yeah.
dude, that was too funny. I'm not leaving that. That was like classic gold right there. Okay, so I do have another question for you, if that's cool.
Yes, sir.
Because I have one. So we do get. I get the fact that you did have a spiritual experience. We know how it changed you. You ended up puking after. No, I'm just going. Okay, so here, remember the part that I said to remember what you said. You remember I said that you
Which part?
even before we were born. You said,
Oh, that we have a spiritual? Have we had a spiritual experience? And I said yes. Some of us. I believe we
uh,
are having a spiritual experience, perhaps even before we were born. Yeah.
right, right. Well, that would make sense in the fact of what you said earlier that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, right? So it kind of coincides with that idea. But let me take this even a step further. I have another question that's interesting. Do you believe that our consciousness exists? This is my own real question. Do you believe that our consciousness exists beyond the physical body? And if so, what do you think that means for life after death?
I think there's a quote that says, even before you were formed in your mother's womb, I saw you
Yeah,
in the Bible. And I personally believe that. Maybe some don't, and that's fine. But meaning like it's probably way beyond even our understanding, like, what that means.
mhm,
So I believe there's somehow, as a spirit, you're not bound to a body, I believe.
yeah,
So somehow we were able to exist even before we were formed. That's a big thing. It's kind of like the wind. The wind is everywhere. It's like you don't contain it, you don't see it, but it's there. So this is probably the deepest interview I've ever had because we don't really talk about these things.
dude.
So I
I,
believe how it affects us after life after death, since
mm,
we are spirit beings,
mm,
we are true beings. Um, Again, I personally, try to understand life and spirituality from, you know, the Bible,
mm,
God, Jesus Christ, what we know is the Old and New Testament. That's what I personally believe.
yeah,
Uh, and it talks a lot about life after death. And not just because it talks about it, but because of what I've experienced in my life living as a human being. I believe
yeah.
I really have seen God at work in my life. I've experienced things
Wait,
that
wait.
are hard to explain.
You said at work.
So,
What job are you
meaning, oh, God hired me. Yeah, after I have repented from snatching that bag,
at?
meaning there are things. There are things, Robbie, for example, for you that only you know what it's like. Only you
Yeah.
experienced it. So no one can take that away from you. No one can deny that, right?
Mm,
So there are things I've experienced that I really have seen, God working in my life, and were things where I thought, okay, this is
yeah.
impossible. This is not coincidence. It would be impossible for this to happen. There are many ways, and there'd be far too much to mention here. And there are a lot of folks who maybe will not, I will not believe that, and that's
Yeah.
fine. There are other folks that understand. They're like, wow, I have seen and had answered prayers and have seen God work in me, in my heart, and in those and people around me, things that I can't deny, things that are impossible that no human being was able to
Yeah.
create or cause. So therefore, I believe that, and yes, I do believe that our spiritual experience, or our spiritual being, uh, yeah, goes on after we leave this physical earth. After we leave this meat suit, this physical being. We are still a being. I don't know how all that works,
Yeah.
and I'm doing my best, but there's certain things we will know when we experience it. Just like life here, like you only know when you experience. It's like if you learn to ride a bike,
Yeah.
someone can show you, film on it, can demonstrate in front of you, can show you pictures, can explain the mechanics of the science of riding a bike.
Yeah.
Only you will know what that is like when you get on the bike and you actually do
Right.
it.
Just out
That's
of
the
actual
only way you
experience.
experience it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you said like it's subjective in that sense. Like,
right.
yeah, from your own experience only, you really can't really objectively look at something and be like,
Yeah.
I think I know what that, you know.
This Let me say this too, because this kind of relates to this. Kind of like when people say, let's say if someone is, white, black, Asian, male, female, go on, right? When someone tries to discount someone else's experience,
Yeah.
well, you don't really, we're not in a racist society anymore, let's say, because, Obama is president. They'll say that. Or they'll try to discount
Yeah.
someone else's experience and say, no, it doesn't really exist. It's not really legit.
Mhm.
Uh, It's hard to say. It's kind of like neither of us know what it's like to be, you know, a, a, a Middle Eastern woman
Mhm.
living in the South in
Mhm.
1920. We will never know what that's like.
Yeah.
All we have is someone's what they write down. We will never, so we can't discount it. No, you didn't really experience this. No. People didn't really look down on you. No. That's kind of foolish. That's kind of like, there's no way to do that. So, or woman, they're like, no, you're not, people are not trying to edge you out. You look at the numbers, you're like, wow, women have a low, as far as employment, as far as opportunities, many things. It's legit. You see that. That's, you want to look at science. Hey, the numbers say that they're not getting equal footing. Meanwhile, the
Well,
population, so many women, but yet what's going on here in
not
Hollywood? The way women are paid, the way women are treated. Hello.
not on social media. They're doing pretty good there and on OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding. They're leading that whole.
Hey, that's cool. So I say all that to say that there's no way to discount somebody's experience. Now,
Yeah.
because they have that experience, it doesn't mean. How do I say? I don't. Anyway, I'll just leave it there. That's a bigger conversation,
Yeah.
but yeah, getting back to your question, do you believe we're spiritual beings, and does that affect you life after death? So I personally do. I definitely do. Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you said that because like you said, everybody has a different understanding and experience, and I that's why I try to get as much different perspective as I can. So it's
Mm.
interesting. Okay, here's another good question. Question for you. Um, Speaking of the idea of synchronicities and intuition, right? Having like an intuitive experience where you might have just all of a sudden, realize something, or like synchronicities or things happening uh, uh, in such a way that it's almost like a pattern, you know? And it's
Mm.
like, wait, I'm seeing the signs, or like that type of thing, right? So, what role do you think synchronicities and intuitive experiences play in our spiritual journeys?
Wow. First of all, these are really cool questions.
Yeah.
And I can only give my opinion because in some ways I'm like, wow, that's over my head, or it's
I
making
want
me think.
you to give someone
Good,
else.
Rob. It's good that you ask a question that makes us all think. So I just want to compliment you on that. And and you did compliment yourself. You said this is a really good question that's coming up.
I always do that.
So synchronicities and intuitiveness, like what role does that play in our spiritual
Yeah.
existence? Like,
Yeah.
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 Well, check it out. We can all relate to this. It's so weird when you're like, someone calls you, you're like, wow, I was just thinking of you.
Right.
I was
Right.
just right. And it
Synchronicity.
happens so many times. It's not
Yeah.
just like, wow. So again, there's so many things and, intangibles that it's hard to explain and say, oh, wow, this is the reason why. Right. But I believe, yeah, it's not unrelated. Intuitiveness. There's certain things we have. we talked about this earlier, where there's something you may see, kind of like a premonition. You may see something happen beforehand, or you see something that other people don't see. Like
Yeah.
example, I've had dreams about something very specific, like
Yeah.
where I was, what I was looking at, what I was reading, very specific. Years later, I really experienced that.
Yeah. Me too.
So how, or intuitiveness, you're like, wow, I'm having a feeling here that let me,
Like a gut
you know,
feeling. Yeah.
right, let me not, I'm not going to go to this store. I'm not going to go out this night. I'm going to call out of work. Somebody I know recently that said, you know what? I decided to call out this particular day, September 11th. And they were working there. Otherwise, they would have been there.
Right.
So who knows how that works
Right.
in
That's
people. That's a lot, right? It's an intangible, like it's something for us to think about and figure out. Man, these are good
right.
questions. These are
But
really
these are things that affect my life. It's something that I'm very big into, and I thought that we've known each other for like half our lifetimes already, and I know you've experienced a lot. We've talked about it. It's one of the reasons I wanted to create this podcast specifically. I call this podcast the experience, specifically because it's what it is. It's an experience. Um, I'm not really interested in celebrities or like all this other stuff and all this crap. I'm really interested in unless you become a celebrity, but like yeah. I'm talking about like like the idea of fame and fortune and shit doesn't really do much for me. It's what's behind the fame and the fortune, or what's behind the person. I don't give a shit if you have a dollar or you don't have money at all. But if you have something interesting to say, I want to hear it. I want to understand, because these are experiences that we all have, regardless of what stature in life that you have. And that's why I
yeah.
call myself the spiritual philanthropist, is because my riches aren't in material wealth. My riches are in spirit. So I have plenty to give, you know? And I think that you're like that. You're a spiritual philanthropist in your own way, and you have plenty to give as well. We just have to learn that that's what we are, you know?
Thanks, Rob. That's wow. That was really well put. I appreciate that. And yet
I
you do
practiced
you.
that for about a week straight, bro, before I did it. No, so do you have more to say on that, or can I ask you another question? It's up to you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Go for it.
Yeah, that's totally awesome. So let me ask you. This is also on a spiritual basis as well. Um, how do you define spiritual awakening? Right, and do you think everyone goes through it in their lifetime?
The way I define spiritual awakening is the moment, I guess, a person realizes that they're more than just what they experience. They are more than just what they own. That they are more as a person. Yeah. Let me say this too. It could be the insight could come with so many different ways.
Yeah,
For a person, right? As far as like something they have a near death experience, they're like, oh my gosh, what really matters in my life? It's like, oh
yeah,
wow, and they realize how they are, or they realize how we are more united as a human family than we,
interesting. Yeah,
right. We're not divided by you know media or television or culture. Like no, there's something else. So people may have a different type of awakening with how they define it.
yeah,
Someone may say, wow, realizing, yeah, those different realizations, or yeah, that's a great question. It all depends on who. Let's say the person who's never been to school at all. They're like living, you know, on an island somewhere.
mhm,
You know, they're 70 years old, and then something hits them, and they have their spiritual awakening. Or someone's, you know, 6 years old. There were certain things about me that I was thinking about or feeling in my tuition, in my gut. I thought, wow, this feels bad. This
yeah,
feels bad. What's happening, what I'm seeing in my life, in my world, I'm like, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so that may be their spiritual awakening, or and does everyone have them? I believe yes. Everyone has, because I believe everyone is a spiritual being. I
Yeah.
personally believe that. Other people may not. They think,
Yeah.
no, we're a plant. We just grow and then we die and it doesn't matter. But I believe that. And how we do that, what we do with that is different. And how sometimes we block it. There may be some spiritual awakening trying to happen in our lives,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It could be we run to isolation, to food, to gaming, to whatever it is. It could be a really good thing. I'm gonna work really, and then it's workaholics. So we do different things, and we perhaps can block or limit
Mhm.
our spiritual experience or spiritual awakening. You can do that.
Hmm.
You made me think about it. I didn't know what you were going to ask or how I was going to answer it, but it just,
Yeah, no, I love the fact that you said that everybody can kind of have that spiritual, experience in their own kind of way is what I'm getting from that. It doesn't have to be exactly like your experience, but it's subjective to them, that what they've experienced, what they feel. And like you said earlier, even though we weren't talking about the spiritual aspect, is that people's experiences are so important, you know? And
mm,
if you could, because you did answer most of the question, right?
sure.
Uh, uh, in this lifetime, right, where you hear people have you heard the term self-realization?
Yes.
So I'll give you an example of what that could mean. I'm just saying could because I don't know for a fact myself. Okay, it's a hypothetical thing. So like Buddha was considered self-realized. Um, Christ, a lot of people look at him as a self-realized being as well. Meaning that he knew who he was. In other words, he knew his connection to God. Buddha, the same thing. Krishna, all these people. I know you have your specific way of thinking, but along those lines, what do you think about that itself? About the idea of people realizing themselves and the divinity within them and making an impact in the world the way these people did. Oh, that lasted thousands of years, so over 1,000 years, a millennia. What
Wow.
what do you think happened to them? Were they born that way, or like the Buddha, did he just attain that over time? Do you think that Christ went through a process, or he was just like automatically where he was at, or did it go through the entire process of his lifetime?
I think, and I can say this where, wow, that makes your brain sweat. Uh, can you hear me? Oh, okay. You should have had me thinking like, man, like what? That makes your brain sweat. That question, self-realization. Does everyone have it, and how does it? Meaning, as far as people that have impacted this world for thousands of years,
Yeah,
how did they have
like
it?
the
Or
potential for anyone to do to become like that, because these people were known throughout the millennia, thousands of years, man, because of who they were and what they realized about themselves. Is it
that
true? Do you think it's true that we have the potential of becoming like that ourselves? Does anyone have that potential?
potential?
Yeah,
I want to say we all have potential. Like that's what we haven't known yet, or done yet, or become yet.
yeah,
So it's all in us. We haven't lived it yet. There's so much, like for the next month or 6 months, one
yeah,
of us may be, not that this matters or it's more important. We may decide, you know what, and we start to feed orphans in our town or in another country, and like, whoa, he had that in him. He had so much to do. He had so much to give.
yeah,
Or one of us may decide, we go, wow, we want to start, a podcast like the spiritual philanthropist, and be like, wait, we have something to contribute here, to give, to contribute while we're here. Um, I think we all have that. We can stop. We're not a tree, right? Jim Rohn said, you're not a tree. Like you can get up and live out the next 5 years completely different how you've been living it. This is what Jim Rohn said. As
hmm,
far as becoming like Christ, Buddha, some of these other people,
yeah.
there are certain I believe we can and that we can't do. meaning like perhaps there's a plan, or there's something laid out. There's a destiny
Yeah.
that somehow, it's hard. We as human beings, we don't know it. It's laid out, but our choices can steer us. Christ claimed to be God, to be the Son of God, and no one else has made that claim.
Not true.
So no one can make that claim. Yeah, there are other people that claim. Actually, I'm sorry. There are people that claim to be God, that claim to, yes. As far as there were a lot of things that he did, no human being that I have seen. Someone said this once.
Yeah.
Have had more impact on the arts, on literature, on music, on our way of life, on our even how we structure our judicial system,
Yeah.
government, than Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That wow, there's no other human being
Hmm.
has had that kind of impact.
So I have a question for you. This
Yes.
relates directly to this. I love this. Is that Christ himself? There's a passage, I can't remember the exact passage. We can look it up online if you need me to. He did state. I can't remember the exact verse, but he stated something along the lines that ye too can move mountains and even become greater than I.
He talked about, in the context, he's like, if he was talking about faith,
You
he
can
was
do
talking
even more
he
than
was talking
myself.
right.
Right. Right.
In that context, he also said in John 31, he was saying, like, to the Jews who had, this the quote, to the Jews who had believed him, there were people that were following him that
Yeah.
happened to be and were believing in him, they had faith in him. He goes, if you hold to the truth, to my teaching, you are really my disciples. If you hold to what I say, you're really my followers for real. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So in context, right? So and there he's talking about faith. So it's not just one isolated thought, but they're all together. So
Yeah.
that has to go. That kind of goes with what. There's nothing that's going to contradict, and people will say, sometimes people are not familiar with the Bible, they'll say, oh, this contradicts the other thing, and they're taking things out of context, Old
Mhm.
Testament with New Testament, and so there he's like, so it all depends on context, as far as being able to do greater things at him. He did say that.
So,
And well, he
you,
talked about faith. Yeah,
yes,
even if faith as small as a mustard seed, again, the
right.
context of faith and having faith in what that can do. Yeah.
So I know you're a Christian. I don't mean to play devil's advocate, but here we go. I want to
You-
say,
you could-
take a look at this. Okay, verily, this is John 14, verse 12 to 14, right? Verily, very truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these,
yeah.
because I am going to the Father, and I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it. That's a big
Yes.
promise. That's a
Yeah.
huge like thing to say. It's a he's telling you basically that whatever you ask, I will do it. But he's also telling you at the same time that you two will even do greater than I.
Yes.
And that's a huge thing to say.
He says at the very beginning, whoever believes in me will do the works I've been doing.
Yeah.
Right. Whoever. So that's again going to the quote that I just mentioned, where in John 8:31, where he says, if you hold to my teaching, if you do it, if you follow what I'm saying, you're really my follower.
Mhm.
So it's contingent upon that. It's kind of like saying, if I say, okay, Rob, if I'm a mechanic and I go and I start fixing cars, it's like, okay, if you do what I do, but you start like painting the house,
Yeah.
you're like, there's no way that painter, that person painting the house, as much as they believe in their heart and they're sincere, they're not. The mechanic is saying, listen, do what I'm doing, and you'll be a master mechanic. But the person decides to paint the house, or to like do, grow corn. They're not doing what he's doing. There's no way they're going to really understand,
Mm.
know the truth, step free. There's no way they're going to. It's all connected.
Okay. No, I get that. The thing, what you just said, I'm going to emphasize something here, and just to see what you say, what your take is on it. Where he says, like you said, whoever believes in me and will do the works I have been doing, right? So he does claim that. But is he talking about his way of life? Because he's an example, a teacher. That means that everything that he does and says, that's what he's telling you to look at. He's saying, believe in me. He's not saying to believe in me as this physical body that he's in. People mistake that consistently. If he's truly in spirit and he's truly from the Maker, he's saying, believe in who I am and what I do, not what this physical body is. He's not saying, look at me and just believe in me and put an idol up and worship me. He's saying, believe in who I am, right?
Exactly. Yeah. He's saying,
deeper thing there.
believe in him. He says, and do the works I've been doing.
Right.
Kind of like this. Kind of like if you. I love what you say. Put up an idol. It's kind of like if somebody who's a sports fan, right, and they like I don't know, Kobe, LeBron, whoever it is. Let's say you got all this posters up, the stats, all that. There's a fan, and then there's the person who really strains and tries and strives to train like Kobe when he said get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, to really do it, to really do what LeBron does, to really that big difference, right?
Yeah.
We could be we can be an armchair warrior and be like, okay, I'm a big fan, but Jesus called people to follow him. And just like you said there, he goes, wow, we'll do the works I've been doing. Right? Not just, and the other quote I mentioned before, even a child is known by his actions, whether his behavior is true and right. I'm paraphrasing here, but it's it's that. It's not just believing alone, and it's not just being a fan, but really truly doing, right? The master mechanic says, do what I'm doing, you'll be a master mechanic. If I start painting the house, growing corn, there's no way I'm going to know the truth about putting something together, being a mechanic, So,
the one thing, and the reason I'm kind of like throwing breadcrumbs at you in a sense, I don't know if that's the right term. I'm not letting you follow them, but I'm saying, here, take this one. I'm like, instead of letting you find it.
Rice and beans, man. Come on.
Throw rice and beans at. No, the reason I'm doing this is because it's really interesting to me is that I do believe that the missing years that Christ had that's unaccounted for, they have all this documentation in India, in Tibet, about a man named Isa, whose name is Yeshua, which is very similar in pronunciation. And if you were to change the language, if you were to break the language down, it would come out as Isa because they pronounced it the Y as I back then in the same pronunciation. So Yih would become I, and his life was very parallel to the Christ that to the Christ himself, the one that's been spoken of in the Middle East, to the Far East. Now, if he were to make that journey, the missing 18 years, it would have taken him that time to go there and come back, And they have a shrine in India for Moses and for Christ in India, thousands of years old. Nobody, it's about 1,000-something years old or more, or by the time of close to 2,000, I think that's what it is. But you can, there's so much information about his whereabouts during that time, except in the Bible. That's what I'm getting at. So why do you think that was extracted and extrapolated from the Bible? The most important figure in the Bible.
Why was it extracted?
Yeah. Like, why would the most important figure?
It's a guess. We're kind of like, we're assuming that it was taken out because someone is.
Well, think about it. It's like the main character in a movie.
Right. But I'm saying, like, I can't say, oh, wow, this is, if I were like in a court of law, I couldn't say, wow, this was missing out of here, where I'm like, oh, like, for example, I think I've heard it mentioned, but I don't know the legitimacy of that. I do know this. I do know that there are thousands of pieces and artifacts of actual parts from the Bible that, as we know it, as far as Old and New Testament, as far as we know, we know it was written over a period of, I believe, of 1,400 years, over 40 authors, and there's no way they've done the math where they said, wow, there's the chances of these things really coming together and coinciding. The Dead Sea Scrolls were things that they found. They were like the whole book, nearly the whole book of Isaiah, and matching up. It was found in 1947. It was actually discovered. The Bible had been here for like already centuries, they're like, oh my gosh, this thing matches that exactly, but it's much, much older. Like, how, there's no way that that's going to happen. There's so many. So they've done the math on how that's pretty much impossible to have all these things really come together and match and kind of like legitimize what it is. Because we have, for example, the Odyssey, Homer's Iliad. There are many other things that we go, oh no, Shakespeare. No, Shakespeare wrote that. Yeah, he
but
but there are not many. It's not. It doesn't have the same proof, physical proof that we see with the Bible. I mean, that's what I've seen. It only comes
no,
about by.
So I understand what you're saying is like, and I'm going to put a question at you here. It's because I need to emphasize the importance and significance of it. So we're not talking about like any book. If you claim to be that's the Son of God who is God, why would there be missing parts of his life? Well, you would want to know if it is the most important character in the Bible. Wouldn't you want to know from the day he was born, which is in there? It's the most important day. Go ahead.
Yes, can I answer? I don't know. I believe it's told, and it's meant. I think my conclusion, my opinion, is that what we're seeing, we're meant to see this way. Again, with so much physical proof of like the different pieces, scrolls, the different to corroborate that, like, oh wow, this is really like what we see and know as scripture. I can't guess and go, oh wow. It's kind of like if I've known you since you were in your 20s. I say, wow, how come, you know, we look back and we Google, oh, he lived here, he did this.
Yeah.
Like, wow, there's missing years here. So somehow this dude over here wrote this book about Robbie when he was, 10, 14. So therefore, that's true. Me finding a book over there, therefore, it is the truth, because that means something is missing out of what I've Googled.
Yeah.
I can't say that, right, based on someone else's claim.
But that still wouldn't stand up. The reason it doesn't stand up in a sense is that I'm not claiming to be the Son of God or God. So it kind of like totally, you know what I'm saying? I would never do that anyway. But I'm just saying that you have to put that element in there. It's a very important factor. It's like doing a physics equation or a scientific theory. You can't break the idea of the meaning of that symbol.
Sure. I have a short answer. In John 8:31, it says, if you hold to my teaching,
John 8:31.
Then you will know the truth. 31:32. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you. You're really my disciples. You're really my followers. You will know the truth. Number 2. Number 3, the truth will set you free. I believe the only way to know the truth, example, I can show you documented proof, archaeological drawings of how to ride a bike, or a video of how to ride. I can write it in front of you. Only by you getting on that bike will you, Robbie, know the truth.
Right.
Just like I said, if somebody having experiential experience, I can't discount that you had experience. You described something to me. I can't say, oh, there's something missing here. Something's not happening. I don't understand why. No, well, I'm sorry. I'm mixing myself up here. According to that scripture, John 8:31-32, only by holding to his teaching, to Jesus' teaching, can someone really be his follower and really know the truth and really be set free.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it seems like, oh, there are puzzles missing. There's so many things missing. We talked about a lot of ethereal and spiritual things that are opinion, that there's no way for me to prove that, yes, we are spiritual beings. I can't prove that to anyone else. Only by my experience, only by your experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, this is great. I understand what you're saying, and don't take this as anyway what I'm doing as being intrusive or offensive. It's real questions, and I'm sure
good questions.
Right, there are people out there that have questions. There may be people interested in Christianity that have these questions already. So you could be answering their questions. In other words, so look at it like that. So I'm asking for those people those questions to you. So it has nothing to do with my personal belief. It's my wanting to help to answer those questions for other questions I had, and you're a good source to help us, to help other people as well. I'll be asking other people questions like that too. So keep that in mind. It's never personal, okay? And
no, these are, Rob. These are like I think I've never had to make my brain sweat so much and really think about it, and really it's good, and we should have these discussions. And it
Right,
should be,
exactly. These should be great discussions.
yeah, good.
Yeah, you know, I have just a, you know, we'll stop on this one. I would love for you to come back and do a follow. I would love to have an ongoing podcast with you on it as being a recurring character on here. If
All right.
and that would be, you know, even if we don't have the full round table, as long as we have me and you, maybe one other person that can join, I would love to have you on there. You know, and if you're welcome, you know, if you do that, I'd really be happy.
Dude, but whatever I'm able to do, because there's a lot going on right now, I would love
Yeah.
to. Like, first of all, you're my buddy, and these are really important questions. And then, of course, the whole roundtable thing is exciting. So, yeah, let me know. I'd love to do whatever I'm able to. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm able, I would love to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, so this is good. I'm gonna cut this short because we're going on. Let me see, 2 hours. So we
yeah, I'm
did.
losing life.
Yeah, I saw that. So
Yeah,
we're just. Go ahead. What?
part one and part two here, as
Yeah,
far
yeah.
as the.
I'm gonna break this into pieces and put stuff out there in pieces. I'll edit. You know, I'm not gonna put this in there, but I'll edit everything and put everything up like correctly.
I'll send you more videos too, so that whatever, in case that's helpful.
Well, no, when I work on your reel, it'll help me to. I'll create a good reel for you that looks professional, really good, and they won't even recognize you when they see it. Who the hell is this guy? Joking. No, it'll be good. But let's close this out the right way, and let's do
Sure.
that. So, thank you for answering my questions, and all in good peace, as we say in India. Thanks, dude. I mean, no, namaste. I'm sorry.
Cool. Can I say something?
Yeah, yeah.
I've always, and I will. It's hopefully I'll be able to. It's someday. I've always wanted to go to India, so it's something
Oh,
that it's really is on my top on my list.
myself as well. I've never been. I've never been,
Oh,
and that's what
dude,
I've had to fight for looking like this all my life, and I never even know where it's from.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for today.
God's gonna put away that. It's funny you said that. Eddie said that. Um, so many people. It's me, you, and Eddie so far. The three people that said it to me just recently in conversations.
I want to go to India.
100%. And when we talk to Eddie, you'll see when we're on the podcast, the roundtable, because I think it would be a great experience. You know, to do
That's
that.
awesome. I'm glad that was a good way to close it. I gotta really desperately go to the bathroom.
You gotta hold that in, bro. This is showbiz, man. The show must go on. His eyes are turning yellow. All right, dude. Look, thank you so much, Eddie. I mean, Eddie, Augustine. You guys look, you're Spanish. What can I? No, I'm joking.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Augustine. It's a real pleasure to have you on. You've been a great friend of mine for a long time. God bless you. I hope you stay safe, all of us, and want to do this again. We're looking forward to it. I'm sure everybody else is too.
Thanks, brother. May God bless you to continue to bless your life. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
All right, man. Go do your thing. Call me after.
Yeah. Oh, what do I do here?